Shalom. All praise to the Yahawashi, double honor to the head apostles that rule well, and shalom to brothers in the highways and byways doing the work sincerely and faithfully. It's Brother Adama, it's Brother Imas, and we're just going to go over Luke, the 3rd chapter. Lord willing, brothers get a little edification on it, and we just come out here to do the work and push the word to edify brothers, and also to give this word out so brothers can go back and once again with humility and humbleness and go over it and see what's what. There's been a lot of different outlets and different avenues how people go through Luke the 3rd chapter. And so this brother and I, through the Spirit, are going to give it to you the way the Spirit revealed it unto us. And Lord willing, once again, hopefully brothers receive it. Now, I want to start off by saying, when I read Luke the 3rd chapter, starting at the 23rd verse, and I went into that word suppose. Now, I think for myself and maybe a lot of other brothers who read that, and let me read it real quick. It says, Luke 3:23, and as Yahawashi himself began to be about 30 years of age, being, as was supposed, the son of Joseph. Now, my understanding on that at the time was because of the fact that the scripture said that Mary never knew a man, and she was the virgin. It was a virgin birth. I thought that as was supposed, because the fact that they tried to keep pushing the idea that Joseph never went into Mary. So I thought they were saying supposedly Joseph is Yahawashi's father, but Mary never had a man. But with this brother, some of the other brothers at camp, we went through it, went back over it, and we came to, we finally through the Spirit came to some understanding. And we're going to try to go through it right now for you brothers. And like I said, Lord willing, you brothers receive it and understand it. So you got anything you want to bring out first?
I was looking for that scripture where it says the people of Berea were more noble. I think it's Acts
17, I believe it is.
Oh, I'm in 7.
Mm-hmm.
11. Yeah, 17:11.
Okay. Acts, verse 17 and verse 11.
Right.
Verse 17 and 11. It says, these, we start at 16. We start at 10. Verse 10. And the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night unto Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Jews. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica,
Right.
in that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily whether those things were so.
Right. So what the Church of Berea did, the men of the Church of Berea, what they did was, when they were taught something by one of the apostles, Paul, they went back and they sought it for themselves. So for likewise us, we have a responsibility to say, okay, the elder apostles, they taught us this thing, so we have to go back and look and study for ourselves so that we can have it. That's like that with anything. Somebody can show you how to shoot a basketball, right? But you're really not going to know how to shoot until you go in and put the time in and learning how you want to hold the ball, knowing where you want to put your fingers on the seam and how you want to follow through and where you want your elbow to end up. That's up to you and your personal responsibility to go look into these things. And that's just for anybody. For that follows up. If we say something, like we're going to bring this out, but as we say it, it's up to you to now go, look it up and say, all right, is this solid what they're saying? Because, people got this thing that, that they think that we just, go by, the elder said it, so we ain't going to study it. No, we have a responsibility that we got to study too.
Right.
That's our responsibility. Right. So I just wanted to bring that up first. And now I wanted to talk about what we're getting into is this Luke the 3rd chapter, whether or not it's Mary, because, we were always been taught that it was Mary. And you had those men there in Israelite Tried and Refined. They got together and they did a show on it and said that that it wasn't Mary, that it was indeed Joseph's line, right? And I'll be honest, I was ready to buy into that breakdown. I listened to you brothers, I heard it, and I was like, you know what, this is solid. So I then brought it to my camp, and naturally like you're supposed to do, we challenge each other. And look, and now it's 2 weeks later.
Right.
After I initially saw the videos, 2 weeks later, and now we came up with the answer that it is that is Mary's line, but it went to Joseph, and there's a reason why it went to Joseph.
Right. Let me say this real quick, right before you get in, like the brother said, you know, when the brother brought it to the brothers in the camp, he brought it to everybody.
Right.
Now, I hadn't seen the video them brothers made until this afternoon.
Right.
So it's been 2 weeks because I didn't want to see it. I wanted to search the scriptures without having any influence on, you know, what somebody else may have said. So with that, the brother's absolutely correct. We battle. You know, we battle amongst ourselves, which is the right thing for brothers to do, man. You know, brother come into the camp, and, you know, brothers come to the camp and say, oh, this is that. Brothers, you know, we thought the gauntlet first. Wait a minute. You know, you gotta go through that narrow passage first.
Right.
Before brothers can say, all right, this is what we agree on. And we went through it, you know, once again. Brothers sought it out. Brothers was, you know, searching out within themselves, praying at the Lord for, you know, understanding. Right. And it didn't come to just one brother.
Nope.
You know, certain things came to different brothers. And then after the collaboration of everything, we were able to put it together. And hence here we are now, bringing what the Lord gave us, you know, to present to you brothers. Go ahead.
So we'll start. We got two different people. Right? You got Mary and you got Joseph. Mm-hmm. Now we know. Can you in the Apocrypha where it says no man cometh into existence, no king.
Yep.
Because we got two, we know that the Lord Yahawashi was born from Joseph, laying down with Mary, giving her seed, and then having a child. That's because the scriptures say that no other man has come into earth in any other way.
This is Wisdom of Solomon 7 verse 1. Mm-hmm. I myself am also mortal man, like unto all, and the offspring of him that was first made of the earth.
Right. And
in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man.
Mm-hmm. Of the seed of man. Right, you compacted in blood from the seed of man. So what happens is, as you all know, all of you have had women before. Most people have children. You go and you lay down with a woman. You shoot seed into her. That seed gets fertilized in the egg, and then the child comes out. And when it says compacted in blood, because that's where it rests. In that sac, there's blood in there. There's fluid in there. There's all the things that sustain the child within that sac.
Come on. And the pleasures that came with sleep.
Right.
And when I was born, I drew in the common air and fell upon the earth, which is of like nature.
Right.
And the first voice which I uttered was crying, and all others as all others do.
As all others do. That's important. Go ahead.
I was nursed in swaddling clothes, in that which cares. For there is no king that had any other beginning of birth.
Right. There is no king that had any other beginning of earth. So every man that's on this earth has been born the same way. A man laid down with a woman, right? And then that woman gives forth the seed that he shot off, right? So isn't Yahawashi a king, right? So we know for a fact by the Holy Scriptures, that the Lord Yahawashi had a father and a mother. So we understand that this Catholic doctrine has been taught throughout history, where there's this virgin who an angel came to and put the Holy Spirit in her and had a child. We know that that's not according to the scripture. The scriptures don't talk about a child being born, because it says what? What's that? Romans 1 and 3. It says, consider the king through the seed of David, but consider the son of the Most High through the Spirit.
You want it or
yeah, let's get that real quick. It just came to me just now.
Romans 1 and 3. Concerning his son Yahawashi, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David.
Right, it was made of the seed of David. Go ahead.
According to the flesh.
According to the flesh.
And declared to be the son of the Most High with power.
Right.
According to the Spirit of holiness.
Right, so he was the son of David through the seed, but the son of the Most High through the Spirit. Right, so we know that the Lord Yahawashi had two parents, a mother and a father, right? So now, the question is, why in Matthew is there one lineage, and why in Luke is there a completely different lineage, and it is without a shadow of a doubt 2 different lineages. Well, there's no debating that. You can't because one goes from David to Nathan, and then the other in Matthew goes from David to Solomon. And as you know, as a man, you shoot seed. If you have a brother, he shoots seed. The line does this. You came from the same branch, but the line has now split because you are 2 different men who have 2 different seed. Now, to address what they said, let's talk about that real quick. The convergence, right? So they mentioned the convergence happening here at Shealtiel and Zerubbabel, right? Now, if you look at Matthew's lineage and you look at Luke's lineage, Shealtiel and Zerubbabel in each one fall in a different place in as far as generations are concerned, right?
Let me hold this up there.
Yeah, please show that. We hand wrote this, but you can go in and you can find any picture on Google or anything that has to do with this topic. You'll see that they fall in 2 different places. Generationally, they fall in 2 different places, right?
So here you have Shealtiel and Zerubbabel, and over here in Nathan's line, down here, which is 7 more generations down, is Shealtiel and Zerubbabel.
Right. So you got and one in Matthew's it says begat, and then you got one where it says of. It doesn't say, it says son of. It doesn't say begat, right? Now, I want to say the brother's name. I don't want to call him out of his name. Inop is his name. The brother from Detroit. He said that there's a difference there. But when you take the lineage in Luke and you go from Abraham on down, each of those men are having a son. So it's not saying like where you have the house of, meaning that he belongs to these people. No, it was speaking of a man going to having a son, to having a son, to having a son, to having a son. You can go in Genesis and see that it was man to man to man to man to man all the way down until it got to Yahawashi. You can read that in the Old Testament. Now, what they're saying is that the convergence happened here with Shealtiel and Zerubbabel, but then they go on later to say that Heli died, and then that was how, but his name was still somehow kept in the lineage because of this convergence that happened, right? But we contend something different, right? So yeah, show that.
Okay. This is where the convergence.
This is what they say.
What they say is here. That's the convergence, which if you talk about the convergence, and I'm sure this brother's going to get into it. But if there was convergence at that point, then that's where
that line would have ended, and then all the names would be the same, right? Because if a convergence happened, and then from here, from where Shealtiel and Zerubbabel is, if the convergence happened here, then you would have these people and these would be the same from Zerubbabel on down. From Zerubbabel on down, the names would have been the same. If there was a convergence here, like you said, a woman from Nathan's line married a man from David's line, so this then would be erased. This wouldn't be anymore if that was where the convergence happened. And then you say that it went to Heli, but then where's the convergence then? The convergence, if you're saying that it's because of Heli's passing, should be down here where Yahawashi is, right? Should be down here where Yahawashi is. This is where the convergence should be if it was due to Heli's death, right? So now let's get into what we say it is through the scriptures.
What you want?
Go to Luke 3:23, because it says something specific. Now you guys mentioned that as was supposed wasn't there, and I've heard even the elder apostles say that it was an afterthought. But when I went into it, when I researched it, that was there in the Greek. It wasn't how we see in English the word supposed, but it was a different word there for as was supposed, right? So I went into it. I went into 3 different Greek sources, and they all went back to the word Inomitsu, right? So if you can go to that, if you got your concordance,
Yeah.
you can go to that word. It's what is it? 35? No, it's 3543. 3543.
No, 40. It was 40.
So if you can go to supposed version, you have to.
Let's see. I got 4350.
Nah. I don't think so.
Alright.
I think it
I
was.
was supposed to see it.
Right. So when you go into those different sources, you got that word. When you read it, so when you go into the, I didn't want to use the blue letter. I did use it, but there was a reason behind it, because sometimes the blue letter will take the English and insert the word that means from the English, as opposed to taking it from the Greek and telling you what that Greek word means. But I did take that word from, I used Blue Letter Bible, and I used two different interlinear Greek versions, and that word nomitzo or inomitzo came up every time, right? And then I went to the Latin Vulgate, and instead of that word, like how inomitzo translated into English as was supposed, you had a word in the Latin, putabator, that translated into as was thought, right? So once this brother gets this out, we're gonna show you what that inomitzo means.
Okay, 3543.
Yep.
It says here, 3543.
Right.
It says, nomitzo.
Right.
From 3551.
Right.
Proper to do by law.
Right. To do by law. Mm-hmm. Right. Usage. Go ahead.
I.e., a custom.
For example, a custom. Right. So now when you use that word inomitzo, right, and you say it was as custom or as was supposed, or what was the first word it used? After properly.
To use by law.
To use by law, right? So then that would send you back to the law, right? So now if you say that the as was supposed wasn't there, then how would you get the fact that Heli is his actual father, who he was being raised to because of Heli's death? And you went back to Deuteronomy, the 25th chapter, to read the law about if a man died and didn't have any sons, that his brother was supposed to raise up seed to his name, right? That's the law. So if you read by law, you would have to say that was there. That as was supposed, or that by law had to have been there. That's how you would even understand even your breakdown to it, because it went back to a law, and you used the law as the basis to why this was saying this, right? Mm-hmm. We're gonna say the same thing, right? That it does go back to the law, but not to the law of a man dying, because again, like we just said a little bit earlier, there's a difference between extrapolation and speculation, right? There's nowhere that says Heli died. There's nothing that said Heli was dead. Where did you pull that from? Heli died and the convergence happened here, and a woman from Nathan's line married somebody in Solomon's line. That's all speculation, right? So what we said, so in saying that inomitos was there, or that word as was supposed, that phrase was there, we had to say, okay, this did go back to some law, right? But what law did it go back to, right? So what we're saying is that in Luke the 3rd chapter, Joseph, the relationship between Joseph and Heli is Joseph's father-in-law. Mm-hmm. So when you say, just like our term, it would be father-in-law. Why? Because Joseph married Mary. Mm-hmm. So now Heli becomes his father-in-law. Right. And when you go back to that word inomitos, it takes you back to a law. So let's go to Numbers 27. If you have anything to say,
well, you hit it right on the point, because going back to the so-called conversion, that's a big statement to say there was a conversion, because once again, if there was a conversion, the conversion had to be where, supposedly you said, Heli died. Right. Because if Heli died, then that's where the conversion would have been. Exactly. It wouldn't have been, 7, 8, 10, 9, 14 generations removed up. Right. So if it was 14 generations removed up, then what significance would it have on Heli? Right. Okay, so you want numbers?
Yeah, Numbers 27 and 8. Numbers 27 and 8. Because it does go back to a law, but it's not the fact. So when when you have the law, or when you have a story, you can't superimpose what happened in a story or in the law to say that that's what happened in this situation. You don't. There's nothing to pull it from. You know.
This is Numbers 27:8.
Yep.
It says, "And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying,
Right.
If a man die
Right.
and have no son,
Right.
then shall he cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter."
Right. Now a perfect example to this. This just came to me right now, because I was talking with my mother yesterday, and we was talking about Queen Elizabeth. She's getting sick, so she stepped down from the queenship and gave it to whoever that prince is, right? But how is she queen, right? Because a queen only becomes a queen if it's a woman who married the king. But how did Queen Elizabeth become queen? Queen Elizabeth became queen because her father died and didn't have any sons. So she assumed that royal line. And then she had, when she got married, her husband wasn't king. He had some other title, right? But rightfully, she's just the princess of England because her father was king. But why did she take on that royalship, that royalty? Because that man didn't have any sons. Read that again.
Come. It says, "And thou shalt speak," Numbers 27:8.
Right.
"And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a man die and have no sons, then shall he cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter."
Right. So now, when that daughter gets married, we know what was it supposed that she was supposed to do? And the law says this: if a woman inherits land or any inheritance from her father, she has to do what? She has to marry a man within her tribe, so that inheritance can stay within that tribe, right? Yep. So we know that the woman, when she has a child, when she gets married, that inheritance, whatever she was given from her father dying and not having any sons, is now belongs to the husband, right? Which brings us back to inomitos. So it was legally, whatever Mary inherited from her father Heli, it became Yahawashi's, which is why it says, as was supposed, the son of Joseph of Heli, because it was supposed that he was from that house. Now, where did we come up with that from, right? So let's go to Luke 2. Luke 2, and I think the 19th verse. Luke 2 and 19.
Luke 2 verse 19.
Right.
It says, "But Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart."
Right.
Verse 20. "And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising the Most High for all."
Keep reading.
Come. Praising the Most High for all the things.
I'm sorry, Matthew's 2.
Come.
Matthew's 2. I'm sorry.
Sorry, brother. Matthew's chapter 2.
2 verse, let me see. Verse 19. Yep, that's it.
Matthew chapter 2 verse 19.
Right.
And it says, "But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeareth in a dream unto Joseph in Egypt."
Right. So we know that you had Joseph and Mary when they went to Bethlehem to be taxed, right? So they were. It was a census that Caesar Augustus had decreed, right? And what happened when Herod went on a killing spree? Because what? Herod was the king in Jerusalem. He was set up as king in Jerusalem, right? So when he heard that the child of prophecy was born, he went around killing every child from ages 2 on down to try to lump Yahawashi in that killing, so that he can remain king on that throne, right? So what did the Lord tell Joseph? The Lord told Joseph, go down into Egypt, right? But where were they at? They were in Bethlehem. So read that for me.
Saying, verse 20, saying, "Arise and take the young child and his mother, and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the young child's life. And he arose and took the young child and his mother, and came unto the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea, in the womb of his father Herod, he was afraid to go thither.
Right.
Notwithstanding, being warned of the Most High in a dream, he turned aside unto the port of Galilee.
Right.
And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth.
Right. So when they came back from Egypt, he was like, look, I can't go back to Bethlehem because Herod's son is still there. Yeah, so Herod might be dead, but now his son is there. My family is still in danger. So what? Essentially, they were on the run, right? You got niggas that be in the street nowadays. They go on the run. If they're from another country, they go to Portugal and they rest over there and they start a whole new life, right? So where did he go? He went to Nazareth. Now, who was from Nazareth? Go to Luke 1:26. Who was from Nazareth? So they went to Nazareth. Where did they go? Where did they dwell? Where did they live when they went to Nazareth? Right?
Luke 1:26.
Right.
And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from Mosai unto a city called Galilee.
The city of Galilee.
City of Galilee named Nazareth.
Right. To who?
To a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph.
Right. So he went to Nazareth because that's where Mary was from. Right? Mary was from Nazareth, right? And she was espoused to Joseph by this point, right? Which meaning they were together, right? So which means if she was espoused to him, that means it was already known that they had laid together. But where did he go? Where did he go? If Joseph is from Bethlehem, right? What proves he's from Bethlehem? Because Augustus decreed that every man go back to where they're from to be taxed.
Right.
Where did he go back to? He went back to Bethlehem. Why didn't he just stay in Nazareth? Because he was from Bethlehem. Now, why was he in Nazareth? That's where he found Mary. That's where he met her. And then when they came back together, right, after he had put her away for a while, where were they at? In Nazareth, because that's where she was from. She even went to her cousin Elizabeth when she left from Joseph. So she was from Nazareth. So when they came back from Egypt and they went to Nazareth, naturally, what would they take? Mary's heritage. Because now what? Augustus gave a decree for everybody to be taxed, right? You think that since this only happens one time? No, it's going to happen over and over and over. So now